will submit either today or tomorrow. Um, I'm waiting to cool down so that I read the draft again. Yeah, it's advisable in a similar situation not to rush to send submissions. One needs to cool down and so that the letter does not show writing from somebody who is angry. And I will also have it read by two other people, and I take this opportunity to thank those of you who have responded to my request to testify as to what you saw directly, because I was far. I didn't see what was happening at that security area. Now, I have the honor and the privilege also to introduce someone who is special, a brother of me for so many years, someone who has spent so many years specializing in the subject that he's going to develop with you and discuss with you. His CV is a bit, is very heavy. It's so heavy that I would prefer rather to, I tried to summarize it, and I will prefer to read it so that I don't miss a point, because I'm going to tell you something that will also help you in your professional, in your career. And, but also he's someone who can bring a lot of contribution to your respective states, whenever you, there are disputes, especially commercial related dispute and investment related dispute, because he is one of the most brilliant experts that we have on this continent. So Professor Walid Ben Hamida is a professor of law at the University of Lille in France. He holds a doctorate in law from Université Paris 2, where he defended a thesis on arbitration between public and private persons. And this is a subject situated at the particularly complex intersection of state authority, private economic activity, and international dispute settlement. His academic contribution is both remarkably extensive and genuinely international. Professor Ben Hamida has taught international economic law, international trade law, litigation and arbitration law in approximately 50 countries. He is the author of more than 150 articles, books, and other scholarly contributions published in French, Arabic, and English. This impressive body of work reflects not only the depth of his expertise, but also his exceptional ability to communicate legal knowledge across different languages, jurisdiction, and legal traditions. He brings to the academy extensive practical experience. He has been involved in approximately 50 investment, administrative, and commercial arbitration proceedings, serving in such diverse capacities as counsel, legal expert, presiding arbitrator, sole arbitrator, and co-arbitrator. His experience encompasses proceedings conducted under the auspices of ICSID, the International Chamber of Commerce, the Permanent Court of Arbitration, and the Common Court of Justice and Arbitration of OHADA, as well as proceedings governed by a wide range of national legal systems. He also served for 6 years as a member of the International Court of Arbitration, of the International Chamber of Commerce, the institution responsible for supervising and ensuring the quality of ICC arbitration proceedings worldwide. In addition, he has served as an expert for several international organizations and has contributed to numerous studies and more than 50 professional training programs concerning investment, public contracts, business law, public-private partnerships, litigation, amicable dispute resolution mechanisms, and arbitration. His career, therefore, represents an exceptional combination of scholarly excellence, international experience, practical expertise, and dedication to legal capacity building. As you can understand, this combination is particularly valuable to our academy. Questions of investment, sovereignty, development, and dispute settlement are not abstract concerns for Africa. They bear directly upon the ability of African states to negotiate equitable agreements, govern their natural resources, protect the public interests, and pursue sustainable development on terms consistent with the aspirations of their peoples. Professor Ben Hamida's expertise will enable us to examine these questions with doctrinal precision, practical realism, and a deep understanding of the legal and institutional circumstances confronting African states. My brother, Professor Ben Hamida, we are deeply grateful that you have accepted our invitation. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you one thing. He has accepted to to come, despite the many offers. He is an international consultant. There were so many requests, paying requests, paid requests. I'm not going to tell you how much money he earned on those consultancies. He preferred to come to share his knowledge, his expertise with us at no cost. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome him. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Matias. It's an honor for me. It's a pleasure to be here in Arusha. And thank you for involving me in this very interesting program. Before starting my presentation, I will do it in English, but if person like to speak in English, I can also answer in French. But because the majority are English speakers, so I decide to do it in English. But I am open also to French. Maybe before starting my presentation that will be dedicated to the investment, the African Investment Protocol, I want to know you a little bit. So quickly, very quickly, I will ask you, no need to indicate your name because I will forget it. Just tell me from which country you are coming from, and if you are lawyer, if you have a legal background or economic background. Just very quickly, we start by you, or you start by you, ladies first. Then could you please make very, very, very short presentation just to understand the profile and the background of the participant. No need to give me your name, just from the country and your background.
I came from Tanzania, Iringa. I'm a lawyer and also teaching in the University of Ruaha.
Thank you, Professor. My name is Daniel Ezekiel Mswelo. I'm Tanzanian and I'm a student at University of Iringa doing Bachelor of Law. Thank you.
Merci, professeur. Je m'appelle Maumbi Wiso Banangezi. Je viens de la République démocratique du Congo, précisément à l'est du pays, dans la ville de Goma, au Kivu. Ma profession, je suis humanitaire. Je suis le directeur du pays de l'organisation qui travaille dans la protection et les droits de l'enfant et les droits de la femme.
Thank you, Professor. My name is Stewart Alfred Masengo, a Tanzanian national and a law student from the University of Iringa.
I'm from Kenya and I'm a lawyer.
Bonjour, moi c'est Monabouté Joël, je viens de la RDC, je suis chercheur juriste en droit des affaires, droit de l'homme et droit du commerce international. Je suis aussi stagiaire ici à la Cour africaine des droits de l'homme.
Alors je suis Exaucé Kakule Mwavingi, je suis étudiant en droit international public et africain à l'ILPG Goma. Voilà, je reste à Goma.
Thank you, Professor. I'm Tanzanian and a law student from University of Iringa.
I am an advocate and a law lecturer in Tanzania.
Thank you. I'm a student taking Bachelor of Laws at the University of Dodoma.
A law student at St. Augustine University of Tanzania.
I am a law student at the University of Michigan Law School.
Hi, Professor. My name is Lindsay. I graduated from the University of Michigan Law School, and I also know a little bit about economics from undergrad.
I'm a Tanzanian national, and I'm a student, law student at the University of Iringa. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I am an advocate of the High Court of Tanzania and academician from University of Dodoma.
Thank you, Professor. I'm advocate and a lecturer from the University of Dodoma.
I'm a Tanzanian, a lawyer, also a student of Masters of Human Rights. I'm a Tanzanian and a master's student at Ruaha Catholic University.
I'm from Tanzania, a lawyer.
From Tanzania, a student of law at St. Augustine University, Arusha campus.
I'm Tanzania, law student from South University of Tanzania.
Good morning. My name is Catherine. I'm a lawyer from the Ministry of Finance, Tanzania.
Good morning. My name is David Balozi. I'm a revenue law policymaker for Ministry of Finance.
Good morning. I am a lawyer and I'm taking my Masters of International Law in Tumaini Makumira. I'm from Tanzania.
Hi, Professor. My name is Marian. I'm a master's student from Tumaini Makumira University, majoring in international law, international relations, and diplomacy. I'm from Tanzania.
Good morning. My name is Precious Noazo. I'm a law student from the University of Dodoma.
Good morning. My name is John Anderson, and I'm a master's student at Ruaha Catholic University, majoring in human rights law.
Good morning, Professor. I'm a Tanzanian and a lawyer.
Good morning. I am an academician and a legal researcher specializing in international law and cyber law.
Good morning. I'm from Egypt, judge at the court and legal advisor for the government, especially in commercial disputes.
Good morning. I'm Dennis Mahai, a student.
Good morning. I am a Tanzanian. I'm Joyce Charlie, an assistant lecturer from St. Augustine University of Tanzania, Arusha Center.
Good morning. An assistant lecturer from Ruaha Catholic University, Tanzania.
Good morning. I'm a law student at the University of Dodoma and I'm a Tanzanian.
Good morning. I'm a law student from the University of Dodoma in Tanzania.
Good morning, Prof. I'm Eric, from a human rights advocate from DR Congo.
I'm a Tanzanian law student from Ruaha Catholic University.
Moi, c'est Sofiane Belmessaoud, je viens d'Algérie, je suis avocat exerçant en droit des affaires et enseignant-chercheur, maître assistant à l'Université d'Oran.
Hi, Prof. I'm Rodney from Tanzania. I'm a policy analyst and environmental scientist. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Lucas. I am an assistant professor from University of La Laguna in Spain, and I did my PhD in investment law and in the relationship between human rights law and investment law. So I am looking forward to you.
I'm from Tanzania, a lawyer, legal practitioner, academician. I'm pursuing a PhD at Ruaha Catholic University, Iringa, Tanzania.
Je viens de la RDC. Je suis étudiant en relations internationales.
Tanzanian Principal State Attorney prosecuting at National Prosecution Service.
Presentation is dedicated to the African Investment Protocol. And I want to start by giving you the outline of this presentation. We will have together, I think, 5 hours. And during the coming 5 hours, we will follow this program. My presentation will include 3 parts. The first part, as you see, will be dedicated to the context of the African Investment Protocol. So before examining, before exploring the African Investment Protocol, we will try together to understand the global context of the African Investment Protocol. It will be part number 1. Then, after understanding the context of the African Investment Protocol, we will see the content of the African Investment Protocol. You try to follow this protocol from Article 1, if you have time. I don't think that we will have time, but at least we will try together to examine some provision of the African Protocol to understand the scope and the meaning of some legal provision, some provision provided under this protocol. The third part, it will be a kind of, we will try to appreciate, we will try to think about this protocol, about its impact from a practical point of view. So 3 parts: the context, the protocol, and the impact. We try to follow this program. As you see, it's very simple. I know that some of you, they know investment law. Some of you are specialists on investment law. Others, they are not specialists. They are, maybe it's the first time that they are facing this very difficult area. So I will try to go step by step. The objective is that after this session and after the 5 hours, everyone will be able to understand this protocol, the legal impact of this protocol, but not only the legal impact of this protocol, also the practical impact. We'll see that sometimes I will make many critics. My objective is not to destroy. My objective is that I contribute with you to the amelioration of the legal environment governing investment in Africa. I must draw your attention that we will be invited to work sometimes. I will ask you to find some investment agreement, to work. There are some questions. So we need to be connected. I think that all of you are connected. So you can be connected with computer, you can be connected with your mobile, but we will see that I will invite you to find some investment treaties and to work on some legal instrument. So be ready for this work. It's not a presentation, it's an interactive presentation. So I need your help and I need your involvement. So be ready to, I think that everyone has an instrument, be connected to internet and to follow this course as I propose. Okay, let's start now by the first part of this presentation. Before the content, you need to know the context. So what is the context of the African Investment Protocol? In order to understand the context, there are some issues that we need to explore together. Some concepts, some notions that we need to understand. It's very important that we have the same understanding, the same definition of many notions that we will use during my presentation today and tomorrow and after tomorrow. I need to be sure that when we use a notion, when we use a concept, that we have the same definition. So one of the first issue that we need to understand before dealing with this African Investment Protocol is a distinction, very important distinction, the distinction between investment and trade. The question is the following: what is the difference between trade and investment? You know that we have in international economic law two areas: international trade law and international investment law. We can also have three. Another area is international financial law, International Monetary Fund, legal regime. But the main distinction, the most important distinction, is between investment and trade. And regarding trade, we have the World Trade Organization. Regarding investment, we have the International Investment Agreement. In Africa, in the African context, we have the African Continental Trade Agreement. It's about trade, including trade in goods, trade in services, but we have also this protocol that is dedicated to investment. So what is the difference between trade and investment? Because we have two legal regimes, and not only on the African level, even if on the global level, we have all the time this main, very important distinction between trade law and investment law. What is the difference? In order to understand the difference between trade and investment, you have to understand the following. Trade refers to exchange of goods and services between parties across borders. You understand that here I mean international trade. So trade, they are exchange of goods and services. No additional value. It's a kind of monetarization. I sell this product to you, you pay me. This trade. I provide this service to you, you pay me. This is trade. No investment here. I give you a product, you give me the counter value of this product in money. It's exchange. This is trade. It's a short-term operation. I export the product, you pay. As example, a company from France that export products, computers, to a company in Kenya. This is trade. And as I told you, now we have trade in goods, trade in services. Goods, you can see them. Services, you cannot see them. They exist. The service exists, but you cannot see it like good. Good, you can see it. And in trade, there is no establishment, there is no movement of person. The good or the services, the movement from country 1 to country 2. There is no need to circulation or movement of person. So that's why the trade law is easy to regulate. The problem is where people move from country to country. Trade relation did not imply a movement of persons. Investment is a territorial activity. Investment is a territorial activity because it requires an establishment. It requires a movement. The economic actor, that is the investor, has to move from a country to another country. He has to move, and he must be established in this country in order to manage his or her investment. Second, investment is a long operation, is a long-term operation. It's not like trade. Trade is short-term operation. You export, you sell, you are paid. You provide service, you are paid. You stay in your country. You don't move to the other country. If you are an investor, you have to move to another country. You leave your country, you move to another country. Then, the third element, in order to understand this very important distinction between trade and investment, I told you that trade is a kind, the economist said that trade is a monetarization. So you transform the good or the service on money. Investment is an activity that creates adding value. I explain. You have the capital that you are using in order to produce income, benefit. So investment is an activity that creates adding value. Trade did not create adding value. You sell, you get the money. What is the adding value? Investment, you come to a country, you stay in this country, you have a capital, you have a money, you use it to create value. You come here, you open your telecommunication company, you come with a capital $2 million, for example. You use them to produce money every year. You have a benefit, you have an income. As an example to understand what is investment, you have a European company that come to another country in order to invest in the solar power area, for example, in Tanzania for 25 years. So 25 years with the initial capital that was used, they produce income and they stay in the country. So this is a very important distinction. If you understand it, you understand why we have two legal regimes in international economic law between trade and investment. There are some connections between trade and investment. Sometimes there are some connections and they are linked. Because as investor, if you come to a country, it's very important to know what are the rules applicable to trade, because the company that you create in this country maybe will sell goods and provide services. So if a French investor comes here to Tanzania to make an investment, for example, in a sector, he will produce some computers in Tanzania here. This is the investment activity. His activity is linked to trade. Why? Because this investor may export its product to another country. So if the trade regime is liberal, this will be an important aspect to take into consideration, because he knows that when he invests here, he can sell its product not only in the local market, but also he has a regional market in which he can sell all its products. There is a connection, a very important connection, but at least from theoretical point of view, there are two different activities. This presentation will deal with investment. This is what the economy said. So the economists make a distinction that is clear between trade and investment. Lawyers, they don't understand, or they don't want to understand the economy, so sometimes they confuse. World Trade Organization, Africa, you have an agreement on services in the context of the African Continental Trade Agreement. You have intellectual property also, another area. I think that this distinction, everyone understand this very important distinction. That's a very important element that I want to focus on in order to understand the African Investment Protocol. Another issue that I want to explore with you before moving to more, not interesting, but more complex issue is the notion of investment in economy, not in law, not yet. We will see during this session, during my course, what is the definition of investment in investment law. But before moving to law, let's try to understand the economy, what the economist said about the notion of investment. It's very important to understand that. So, in economy, investment is an activity, dynamic activity. Trade is not activity. Trade is not dynamic. You sell, you get the money. You provide services, you get the money. Investment is the acquisition of asset to produce income. As I told you, investment requires adding value. You produce, you create, you use the money to create. It's not like trade. Trade, you get the benefit, and that's all. Economists made a distinction between two kinds of investment. And they need this notion because, as you will see, the African Protocol sometimes makes reference to foreign direct investment. You have to understand what is the meaning of foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment is a notion that we find in the economy. And the economists make a distinction between two kinds of investment: foreign direct investment, FDI, and what they call portfolio investment, PA, or financial investment, FI. In French, l'investissement direct et l'investissement financier. What is the meaning of foreign direct investment and financial investment? What is the difference between the two notions? The difference is the control. The control, an investment is considered direct investment when the investors control the company, control the investment. When the investor can take a decision regarding the investment. So if the investor has the right to control the investment is direct. If the investor has no right to control the investment, it's not direct, it's financial investment. So the element to understand the difference between them is the control. If I control, I make a foreign direct investment. If I don't control, I make a financial investment. Let's give you an example. There is also some other element that are used to understand this distinction between foreign direct investment and financial investment, the second element, in addition to the control, is risk and volatility. What does it mean? The risk in portfolio or financial investment is not high as in the direct investment. Risk and volatility, the issue is if the investor wants to leave the country. If the investment is financial, it's very easy to leave the country. If the investment is direct, it's not so easy to leave the country. So when the investor wants to leave the country, it's easier for the person that make financial investment to leave more than the person that makes a direct investment to leave. Example, if you have a local company, you want to invest in a sector of the economy, for example, telecommunication or for oil and gas, you create your company, you have 60% of this company, you control the company. You take the decision related to the investment. You have a direct investment. However, if you have only 2% of the shares of a company, this is not a foreign direct investment. This is only a financial investment. You have 2%. You can sell them and leave. However, if you control, it's not easy to leave. It takes a lot of time. Just you have to sell your shares in the capital market and you leave. You don't control, you have only 2% or 3%. So this is a distinction that is very important. You will see that investment agreement did not mention it, but you find it. You find it in many legal instruments. OECD instrument, many lawyers that has economic background sometimes use this notion of foreign direct investment. This is the second element that I want to explore with you in order to understand the context of the African Investment Protocol. So to conclude, until now, I try to understand, to explore, to study with you two issues. Difference between trade and investment, and how the economists understand the notion of investment, focusing on the distinction, another distinction between foreign direct investment and financial investment. Now, let's move a little bit, because we are lawyer, to legal issues. Some legal issues. And the first legal issue that I want to deal with is the following. What is the definition of investment law? You know that there are many courses dedicated to investment law, many books dedicated to investment law. And when we have a topic like this, the African Investment Protocol, this topic is certainly linked to investment law. So, what is the definition? I will give you a definition of investment law. Investment law is national and international rules addressing issues of investment. The activity that I explained to you that is called investment, that requires the mobilization of economic actors from one country to another country, and that requires time in order to produce value, that is the investment, is governed by national and international rules. So all this activity, all the aspect of this activity that requires time. There is the admission, then the administration of the investment, and even if the liquidation of the investment, all this activity is governed by some rules. Rules that can be national, adopted by the state, or international. The investor is not a trader. The investor, as I said, will be established in a country. If the investor is foreigner, this foreigner investor will leave his country, the home country, and he will establish his investment in another country, the host country. So his legal situation is a little bit strange because he needs time to produce value. He becomes, as certain said, the hostage of the state, of the host state. If the investment is foreign investment, if you have a foreign investment, the investor is working, is making its investment in another country. And he needs time to get the income. So maybe, and you know, in investment sometimes, the first year, there is no income, there is no benefit. You have to create the infrastructure, you have to build the investment. Then after 5 years, you can have the benefit of this activity, you can have the income. So if the state expropriate your asset, there is a big risk. A big risk because in the first step of the investment project, you have to put money. There is no benefit. Then you can expect the benefit of your investment after the first period, when the investment is made and the investment start to produce income. Investment law is mixed, or is a transnational discipline. That means that it includes, if you take into consideration the civil law perspective, private law rules and public law rules. Investment law is a mixed or transnational area that focus on the relationship between the state and the investor. So the scope of the investment law is this area, special area, relationship between the state and the investor. That the investor that comes to invest with the state. But to invest in a country, you need to know all the business law of the country. Why? Investment law, the scope is this relationship, but it's not true, because if you are a French investor, you want to come here to Tanzania to make an investment, you need to know all the legal environment of Tanzania. Why? Because you come here, you create your company to produce, I don't know which product here. You will conclude contract in this country. So you need to know what is the contract law in Tanzania. You need to create a company to make your investment. So you need to know what is the company law. You will have workers. So you need to know the labor law here. You have you have to observe the environment requirement. You work with the bank. You need money. You need funding. You need to know the financial law. So in order to understand this complex operation or activity that is the investment, sometimes you need to know all the legal rules applicable in a country. However, investment law focus only on the relationship between the state and the investor. That's the definition of investment law. But it's not enough. If you want to advise a foreign investor in a country, this is not enough. If you know investment law, it's not enough. You have to know even local laws, because the investment needs the local law to invest. It's a very complicated issue. In my book, in French, Droit des Affaires Internationales, with two of my colleagues, I made the distinction between two kinds of rules. I called them rules of operation and rules of protection. Investment law provides the rules of protection, but is not enough. You need the rules of operation, and the rules of operation are sometimes the rules that we find in each country: contract law, company law, labor law, financial law. Investment law focus on protection, not a lot on operation. And for operation, you need to know the local business law of the country. So please keep in mind this definition, this distinction. Investment law focus mainly on the protection of the investment or the investor in its relationship with the state. What are the sources of investment law? We have three sources, three legal sources. First is international law. International law, mainly here, we have the investment treaties. There are many investment treaties that represent, maybe today, the most important source of investment law. International investment agreement or international investment treaties. This is the first source. In addition to international investment agreement, we have investment contract, state contract concluded between the state and the foreign investors. The foreign investors are also an important source to understand this relationship, to understand the legal framework, to understand the rules applicable on this relation between the state and the foreign investor. State contract. Many states today, they conclude contract with foreign investors. Contracts that are very developed contracts, 500 pages, 1,000 pages, in many sectors of the economy, in telecommunication, in oil and gas. In oil and gas, the contract is very important. There is issue of authorization, issue of permit, issue of license. And this is, in my opinion, a very important source to understand the legal regime of the investment relation. State contract. International investment agreement. And the third source is the investment code. In many countries, they have an investment code or foreign investment law. It's a domestic law governing the investment. Here, regarding investment law, I must tell you the following. We have here two approaches in the world. In some countries like Egypt, like Tunisia, they have an investment law. Democratic Republic of Congo, they have an investment law. Tanzania, I think that they have an investment law. But in France, in United States, United Kingdom, they don't have an investment law. Why? And they attract a lot of investment. Let me tell you that the countries that they don't have an investment law, they attract more investment than the country that they have an investment law. First, what is investment law? What do you find in an investment law? We find rules applicable on the admission. When the investor wants to come to a country, there is a process, authorization, registration. We find rules related to the admission, to access. Then we find rules related to the protection. We protect the investment, cannot expropriate the investment, non-discrimination between local investors and foreign investors. And sometimes we find some tax advantages that the country gives to the investor. France, US, they don't have an investment law. They say we don't need an investment law. Why we don't need an investment law? Because a foreign investor that wants to invest in France or in US, we have the local laws, he can follow them, and we don't need to protect him. He is protected by the laws, the rules applicable to the local investors. We don't need additional rules applicable on investment made by foreigners. If you want to invest in France, you have to go to France. You create company as the French create companies. You can work. If the sector is open, you work like the locals. You need only the rules of operation, and the rules of operation are available. The same standards are applicable to the foreign investors and the local investors. You create your investment like the local, like the French. You create the company like the French, the contract like the French. You get the authorization like the French. We don't need an investment code. We don't need an investment law. We don't need additional protection given to the foreign investors. We have local investors, and the foreign investor his activity must be or is submitted to these rules applicable. So here, all the African countries, they have an investment law, a domestic investment law. Maybe to have an investment law has advantage because at least it shows the view of the country, its transparency. It's a good for transparency. Yes. Use the mic, please, for the translation. Yeah.
Following up your presentation, you have narrated that some countries they have investment law, others they do not have investment law. I want to know what's the reason behind, because if you take like as your presentation that the country that does not that lacks investment laws are more likely to attract investors. But when you see in another perspective, most of African countries they have investment laws, and they're one who are not like very much developed. My thinking was that the African countries should have should lack investment laws so that they can attract more investors, and then we can have more economic development. What would be the reason? Maybe
the reason is that to determine the attractiveness of a country, law is one factor, but not the only factor. There's many other factors that are taken into consideration by the investor before deciding to invest in a country. First, the market. Is it a big market or a small market? When the investor comes to a country, what he thinks about is the income, the stability of the country, the legal stability of the country. So there are many factors, and the rule of law is one of the factors, but is not the only factor. You can have the best rules in the world, but if you have a small market, if you have a bad reputation, you don't attract a lot of investment. Yes.
J'ai une question par rapport à mon pays, l'Algérie. Regardons la législation algérienne de par toutes les branches confondues. On a parmi les meilleures législations qui sont, voire même les mêmes connues dans des pays européens. Mais tout de même, même en Algérie, on avait adopté dernièrement depuis 2021, je me rappelle, 2022, on avait adopté une nouvelle loi sur l'investissement. Selon vous, qu'est-ce qu'il pousse le gouvernement ou les autorités à adopter une telle loi, vu que nous avons les mêmes... C'est-à-dire, de par la législation, on a la même option, on a les mêmes approches que ceux utilisés dans des pays européens. Si je compare avec la France ou avec d'autres pays européens proches de notre rive méditerranéenne, c'est la même chose. Mais tout de même, en Algérie, on vient ça m'est venu de par vos explications et je voudrais avoir plus de réflexion.
I don't have an answer, special answer regarding Algeria, because I don't know what are the reasons that explain this initiative, but I know that Algeria attracts a lot of investment because the natural resources. So if you are a country that has natural resources, you attract more investment than the country that has not investment natural resources. Senegal now is becoming one of the most attractive host country of investment. Why? Because the oil. They have oil now. They attract investment. So to determine if the country is attractive or not, there are many factors. And as the conclusion is that the rule of law can help, can ameliorate, but cannot transform the situation. So it's one factor in addition to other factors. The countries that attracts investment today, for example, China attracts a lot of investment. Or United States. Many people invest in United States. Why United States? Because the market is very interesting. The people, they are rich. They can, if you have a product, you have a big market. You have a people that have an income that is very important. So you are sure that you will create income, and depending on the sector. If you invest in oil sector in Democratic Republic of Congo or in Congo, you know that this activity will generate income. Will generate, and taking into consideration the political context also, because if you invest in some countries where there is conflict, it's a factor that you need to take into consideration when you invest. Investing in, I cannot, because it's registered, so I have to be careful of what I say. Investing in a zone where there is a conflict, there is a risk, and investing in the United States, this risk, there is no such risk. So, as you see, it's And the history demonstrate that there is evolution. There are countries that were attractive today, that are less attractive. There is a competition today between countries to attract investment. Because if you attract investment, it's considered as a good activity for the economy. And all the time there is competition between countries to attract, to convince foreign investment to come in your country, to make investment in your country. Between France, between European countries, between African countries, Asian countries, countries like Singapore, it was not attractive at all. But today Singapore, and you have to find the sector also. It's a political choice. You have to find what is the sector in which you can be competitive. Services, for example. You have the example of Dubai, Singapore. So it's for each country to find the good model in order to attract investment. Let me move to after domestic law. I want to focus. I think that we have a break. At what time the break? Now? Okay, the break will be removed. I have to finish this by a decision that we cannot challenge, taken by me now. There is no appeal, no challenge. So investment treaties. I want to at least, because it's important, the African Investment Protocol is an investment agreement. The third source of investment law is investment agreement, investment treaties. I will ask some of you, is someone able to give me definition of an investment treaty or an investment agreement? If there is no answer, I will nominate someone. It will be forced to answer. So to avoid this kind of treatment, it's better for you that, yes, he will try. I hope that trying is not enough.
I'm going to try.
It's good, but
I
it's
think
not
an investment contract
no, not contract. Treaty, yeah. We start...
we start with a treaty, yeah. It's kind of a written document which binds all the parties engaged.
What are the parties?
Engaged in the treaty, like what they do, don't do, the terms and the conditions.
It's not a definition, it's a description now.
Yes, it's a description, maybe. Yeah, I'm trying. But I think you've got the concept. Thank you.
It's good, but it's not enough. Is there any better definition? Yeah, there. If there is no good definition, there is no break.
Bon, un accord d'investissement, selon moi, c'est un document.
All of them are documents. Don't tell me document.
C'est un document qui prouve que les deux entreprises.
No, an accord d'investissement, investment agreement is not between companies. Donc, so I am so sorry to, I'm like that, very direct, so it's not against you. I can be very nice, I can say things politically, but I don't have time to do it. So if the answer is not good, I tell you directly it's not good, but it's not against you. Please don't feel concerned by this kind of... Yes, last.
Okay. This is an agreement or international agreements between two or more countries.
Yes.
For the protection and promotion of foreign investments.
Good, yes. This is a good definition. An investment agreement is an investment between two countries. The objective of this agreement is to protect investment. So there are two elements in order to understand the notion of investment agreement. The parties are state. The objective or the purpose to protect investment. An investment agreement is an agreement international treaty concluded between two states, at least two states, in order to protect the investment made by an investor from one state in the territory of the other. So there are two elements, the parties and the objective. Two states, they conclude an agreement to protect the investment made by the investor from each state in the territory of the other. And if there are only two states, we have bilateral investment agreement, but in addition to bilateral investment agreement, we have multilateral investment treaties or multilateral investment agreement that include regional investment agreement, AfTA, SAFTA, CAFTA, all of them, they include investment chapters today. So this brings us to the bilateral investment treaties. They are concluded between two countries. Today we have, at least today we have 3,000 bilateral investment treaties, and we have 521 multilateral investment treaties. And the African Investment Protocol is a multilateral investment treaties because it involves more than two states. It's okay until now. Now you can enjoy the break, and we will be here in 10 minutes. Thank you so much, and see you in 10 minutes. Together, bilateral investment treaties, as you see here, the BIT's network in the world, there are few countries that they don't have bilateral investment treaties, like Korea, North Korea. There are some countries that they have bilateral investment treaties, but the bilateral investment treaties are not into force. Mainly in Africa, many African countries, they have bilateral investment treaties, but they did not ratify the bilateral investment treaties, so they are not yet into force. For example, Brazil has 14 bilateral investment treaties, but all of them, they are not into force because the Brazilian parliament refused to ratify the bilateral investment treaties. As you see here, the countries that sign investment treaties, you find number 1, Germany, then China. China is number 2. China is very active on negotiation and conclusion of bilateral investment treaties. Then we have Switzerland, United Kingdom, France, and Egypt. Egypt is in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Netherlands, Italy, Belgium, and Republic of Korea. Germany, they have more than 120 bilateral investment treaties. Then China, also more than 120. Then Switzerland, about more than 100. United Kingdom, also more than 100. France and Egypt, they have more than 100 bilateral investment treaties. Now we move to an interactive work. It's a very important moment for you, for me also. I invite you to find the Switzerland-Tanzania bilateral investment treaty. There are 2 treaties concluded by Tanzania with Switzerland. The treaties that I mentioned is the 2004 investment treaties. And we find this treaty in French and in English. The people that wants to work on the French version, they can find it in French. And the people that want to work on the English version, they find it in English. And in order to find this treaty, there is a website. It's the UNCTAD website. You have the address, investmentpolicy.unctad.org, International Investment Agreement. You will find all the bilateral investment agreement, more than 3,000 multilateral and bilateral investment agreements. You have to find this treaty, and we try to find the structure of the investment treaty. The main provision, how it is drafted, the structure. In order to determine the structure, you can see the title of the articles, and from the title of the articles, you can find the structure of this BIT. It's very important to understand the structure of this BIT in order to see the evolution resulting from the African Investment Protocol. So this is the first interactive work that I invite you, oh my God, not the solution, that I invite you to do. And for this work, I give you 15 minutes. Maybe it's better that we work 2 by 2, team of 2 people, because it's very hard to be alone in this very difficult moment. So I will maybe ask you to work by team, 2, 2, 2, 2, but not more than 2. 3 is not okay for me. 2, 2, 2. Then I will select me. 2 teams or 3 teams, I will invite them to come here and to write the structure here. So you have to be aware of this. So I invite you to give all your best to elaborate a good structure of this bilateral investment treaties. I hope that the bilateral investment treaties, you find it now. If not, you use Google. Put Switzerland, Tanzania bilateral investment treaty, and you will find it. Is it clear? 15 minutes. Maximum, huh? Maximum. Yes. The task is to review the Switzerland-Tanzania bilateral investment treaties of 2004 and try to find the structure of these bilateral investment treaties, the different topics of the bilateral investment treaties. Les participants sont invités à revoir le traité d'investissement conclu entre la Tanzanie et la Confédération suisse et à retrouver la structure de ce traité d'investissement, c'est-à-dire les sujets ou les thèmes abordés par ce traité. obliged to read, at least for people that they don't know bilateral investment treaty, at least I give you the opportunity to read bilateral investment treaty. So you have to thank me for giving me this opportunity. I see our friend from Egypt is here. So next time I will order that the door will be closed and no one can leave. And this decision could not be challenged, as you know, the jurisprudence that I made and established. Who don't want to answer to the question? Okay, two teams will be invited to join me here to put the structure. There is a team from the left and the team from the right and from the left. I start by the right or I start by the left? What do you think? The right, I start by the left. So you, both of you, you are invited to put the structure. Then you, both of you, will invite it, but don't look to their work. Please, don't. Don't. So if you... Okay, I find the solution. Come here. Put your structure here, quickly, please. Or maybe we do it quickly in parallel. Could you give them the work in parallel? They will put their structure, yeah, here. Very intelligent. Come, here. I said structure, the key point, the most important division of the bilateral investment treaties. And the other, continue reading the bilateral investment treaty. Don't look. You have... It's not clear. You have to write very, very clear. It's like the Egyptian or alphabet. Introduction. I know your country. ask access, come to the country. So this is admission, provision related to admission. Then we have provision related to post-admission. After the acceptation, after the admission of the investment or the investor, we find two kinds of provisions. We find general protection, general provision, general obligation of protection, and special obligation of protection. The general protection includes two categories: non-comparative standards and comparative standards. What I mean by that? I mean that some rules needs a comparison. Other rules, they don't need a comparison. For example, national treatment or most favored nation treatment, they are comparative standards. Why? Because their content will be determined after a comparison. If the state grants a foreign investor the same treatment as the local investor, as the national treatment, in order to understand the content of this obligation, you need to make a comparison between the local investors and the foreign investors. He can ask you the same treatment. So the content of the rule is not fixed. The content of the rule depends on the treatment that the state grants to its own national, if it is the national treatment, or to other foreigners if it is most favored nation clause, MFN clause. So we have in the general protection two comparative standards that we find in every investment treaties. They are national treatment and MFN treatment. Then we have general provision, general protection. We have fair and equitable treatment and protection and security. Then we move to special protection. We find some protection related to special aspect as expropriation, transfer of funds, umbrella clause. So if you want, the structure is the following. We have scope with 4 elements: material, personal, geographical or territory, time. Then we have procedural, then substantial. Substantial, we have admission, post-admission. Post-admission, we have general protection, special protection. General protection, we have comparative, national treatment, and most favored nation treatment. Then fair and equitable, general, comparative, non-comparative. Fair and equitable treatment, protection and security. Then we have special, many clauses, transfer of funds, umbrella clause, and other clause depending, expropriation. This is the structure of bilateral investment treaties. To be complete, regarding the procedural protection, we find all the time 2 mechanisms: investor-state arbitration and state-to-state dispute settlement. This is the structure, the general structure of the investment treaties. Generally, in any investment treaties, we find this structure. Find the title, find the preamble, and you find the provision, sometimes with protocols. If you focus on the provision, you find some blocks. We have procedural block and substantial block. Regarding the procedural block, we have two topics. Dispute between states and dispute between states and investors. Then if you look, it's approximative, but it's very useful and it's very helpful to understand the system. You find substantial admission, post-admission. Post-admission, we have general, special, general, comparative, non-comparative, special, expropriation, transfer of funds, aspect of obligation, all the different topics that are provided in the investment. This is the model that you find in each investment treaty. Some treaties, they add some provision, some treaties, they remove some provision, but at least this is very helpful to understand the logic, the structure of all investment treaties. If the condition related to the scope are met, you have the protection. This protection is procedural and substantial. So, if you are a well-structured lawyer, the first question that you have to deal with if the condition related to the scope are met. The four conditions. If the four conditions are met, you have this protection, procedural protection, substantial protection, dispute settlement, admission, post-admission, all the rights that are provided in the treaty. That is the model, the classical model, the traditional model, yes. No, it's, if you are a protected investor, have or you have not the right of admission. Normally admission is in accordance with domestic law. So in many bilateral investment treaties, you find a clause according to which the investor must be admitted in accordance with the state, with the host state law. So it's a right. In some treaties concluded by United States and Canada, admission is in accordance with the MFN clause and the national treatment. So there are many, the regime of admission is not the same. There are two models. We have the European models and the American models. For the European models, the admission is governed by the national law of the state, the host state. Yes, it's different because if you are protected, you can ask the state to give you the treatment related to admission. You understand me? And the geographical criteria and the duration criteria, the admission, yeah, is another element. But some treaties, they don't provide for rules related to admission. Some, yes. For example, United States treaties for admission is if you request an authorization for the local investors, you can request authorization from the foreign, but you cannot discriminate between them. That's the model that we find. Look, here, Tanzania, Switzerland, how many pages? The treaty. Huh? 12 articles. Is there any provision related to the protection of the state? No. All of them are related to the protection of the investment or the investors. No provision related to the right of the state. This treaty represents the first generation of bilateral investment treaty. The first generation of bilateral investment treaties focuses on the rights of the investor, on the protection of the investor, on the protection of the investors. The first generation, according to some people, does not take into consideration the interest of the state, because in this treaty there is no right provided that the state can ask. All the rights, all the protection are given to the investor. Don't forget the structure. Now, and it will be a historical moment for you, because now we will explore the African protocol on investment, and now you move to the African investment protocol. I invite you to look at it, and following the same method, you determine its structure. 15 minutes in order to explore other source applicable to investment. Some rules, some investment codes provides for rules that we don't find in the investment treaties. Depending on the countries, for example, if the countries give some tax advantages, investment treaties did not provide for such tax advantages. Here the two instruments could be applied together, could be coordinated. There is no problem of contradiction or conflict between them. But in some countries, there is conflict between their domestic investment law and their investment treaties. Yes. What do you think? Normally, the international law provides on domestic law. Normally, if there is a conflict, because the issue is there any conflict? You have to determine first if there is a conflict, and if there is a conflict, to settle the conflict. But to determine the conflict is not so easy. Focus on the African protocol now. Then I will give you the opportunity, because it's very important. I want to finish at least this today, the structure of the African protocol. It's very important for the following step of my presentation. It's a very strange protocol. If you take into consideration the traditional structure, if you compare the two preambles, you have 2 pages of preamble. Inflation of objectives and inflation of intentions. You know, preamble is 1 point, please. What is the function of the preamble? Why do you need the preamble in a legal text? What is the role of the preamble? Why do you take time to determine the objectives, the purpose of the treaty? Why do you need that? Yes.
The purpose of preamble is to give the general overview. I can say the general overview of
Why
the,
do you need
of
the
the
general
main
overview? Why?
of the main content.
Why you need this general context? What is the function from practical view? Why do you spend a lot of time to draft this cooperation, I don't know, development? Yeah.
Conflict or maybe other kind of legal agreements.
Yes,
so
but
define which
yes.
prevail,
Why
for
do you need
example.
that? Why? What's the function from practical point of view? The preamble. What is the utility of the preamble?
I think it's very important for the interpretation of the
Yes.
treaty.
Yeah, the preamble help you is one of the element of the context that helps you to interpret the provision that are included. But you see that for the African protocol, maybe the preamble needs an interpretation. application, the work is related to the protocols, not to the photos or to other issues. Some of you, you can see those photos at home, not here. You can see Facebook when you are in your home, but here you have to focus on the African protocol and investment. Some of you, because they are traveling, they have a problem to sleep. I will give you a good solution. Take the African protocol and before sleeping, read it. I will sleep quickly. You know the two teams that will be invited to determine the structure of the African protocol. And we will follow the same method. As I told you, it's very complicated to find the structure of the African protocols because there are many topics and not easy to determine the structure. Let's start. Do you have a title here? You have a title. Then you have a preamble. And then you have provision. Like the Switzerland, Tanzania bilateral investment treaties. Now, when we examine the provision, what is the structure? I will ask one team to give us the structure, and I invite the two people here from Egypt and you from Tanzania to be here. It's an African international team. You will see if they find the structure. But it's very difficult, huh? You agree with me, huh? You are lost. Yeah, you can write because you have only one team for this work. Yeah, that's enough. You want to do it, you? Yeah, okay. So you want to do it? I will. Okay. But next time I will invite you to do something. Here, as you know, the rules are adopted democratically. And we have one rule. My decision could not be challenged. This is the first. The second is it is for me to determine the people that answer to the question. And the two rules are accepted and they cannot be challenged taking into consideration my first rule. So all the rules that I take are adopted without any challenge. Yeah, as you see, I'm a man of law, and I like the rules of law. Okay, wow. Scope protection. Yeah, it's not so bad. Really, it's good. Huh? They have at least. They find the key element, and I am happy with that because. Yeah, you can elaborate better here. Yes. Yeah. Yes. 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 Good. Yes. Yes. Maybe illustrate 2 or 3 provision. That's enough. You don't need to. And the protocol is available in French, in English, in Arabic, and in Spanish and Portuguese, I think. On the UNCTAD website, you will find the 5 version of the protocol. I think, in French, in English, I am sure that the protocol is available in both languages, but I think that there are other languages. Portuguese, I think, Portuguese, and Arabic, yeah. And as you see, we will come to this protocol step by step. From the context, we will and try to explore the protocol. Then the last is the impact of the protocol, and we are following the outline that I determined when I start this presentation. We have only one element related to the context is investment arbitration. After this, I will try to finish it. Then it will be okay for the context next time you will examine together the protocol. And the last session will be dedicated to a kind of appreciation, a kind of implication, economic and legal implication of this protocol. And I hope that we will understand this protocol within its context and taking into consideration its implication from legal and economic point of view. If there is a problem, please don't hesitate to ask me a question. Question, comment, short comment. You are not invited to give new conferences, just short comment. So please take into consideration these rules too, because some people, in order to make comment, they make new lectures or new conference. It's not the moment to do that. You can do this at home. Try please to be short in the question and in the comment. Spanish and the Arabic also, no? You have a provision on the different version of the protocol. Okay, we'll ask you to explain. It's better, my God. It's not a structure. It's
okay. Actually, we added more stuff. The structure is quite progressive because they add more new topics which was not included in the classic treaty, investment treaty. The structure in the beginning is like a title, preamble, and then definitions, objectives, or the goals?
We find this
new.
New, yes.
Something new.
This is new. Objectives and preamble.
And I believe it will be useful for interpretation.
Yeah, but we told me 10 minutes ago that the preamble provides for the objectives, and we use the objectives in order to interpret. So here we have the preamble, 2 pages of preamble, and we add also objectives. What is the objectives of the objectives? Why do you need to put objectives here?
To more confirm of the objectives.
So to more confirm the objectives that we make in the preamble. So you have, I can tell you now that we have a lot of objectives. And if you have a lot of objectives, the interpretation will be difficult because we have to coordinate the objectives that are provided in the preamble and the objectives that are provided in the provision in Article 2. Then, why some objectives are included in a provision in the main agreement? Does it mean that the objectives that we find in the preamble are not so important, or that are more important than the objectives that we find in the legal text? You understand me? If you look through the preamble, there are objectives there. You told me that we have an article on the objectives. Keep in mind, why some objectives are provided in the preamble and other objectives are provided in the treaty, with the provision? Is there any legal impact? Is there any logic? Take this. Don't forget this. Keep this in mind. So we have the objectives, okay. Objectives that you add to the objectives that you find in the preamble. I think that sometimes you have to, if you read, you need to interpret the objectives, because the objectives that are supposed to be used to understand, you need to understand them before. Okay, then we have
and then we have a scope of
scope, yes. For the scope of application, do you have the traditional model that we find in the Tanzania, Switzerland bilateral investment? You have here the 4 conditions in the African protocol.
Yes, and here is the scope of application is more detailed.
Yes,
So
it's more
about
detailed.
what
Yes,
is
yes,
not
this is
included.
another issue. But my question is, do you find the 4 elements? What are the 4 elements? Investor, investment, territory, and time. Do you find them or not?
Yes. Yes.
I am not sure. For the investor, do you find a provision related to the definition of the investor? Yes. Even if more detailed, we will see that. Do you find a provision related to the definition of investment? Yes. Do you find the definition of the territory?
No.
No or yes? Where is it? Where is it? Where is the territory? This is very problematic, the territory, because today we have investment in the maritime area, and the issue is, if I come to invest in Senegal, in the maritime, I am protected or I am not protected? I don't find the definition of territory in the protocol. What does it mean, the protocol, the territory? I am not sure that there is a definition of territory in the protocol. Please correct me if I made a mistake. So what is the territorial scope? They said, yeah, Africa, but which exactly? If I make investment in the ocean or in the rivers, or I don't know, fish, or oil and gas in the Mediterranean Sea or in the Atlantic, I don't know if I am protected or not. Keep this in mind. So at least we have 3 elements. Yes. Is there any definition of territory? Huh?
I'm trying to think of Article 3.
Yeah.
Sub-Article 2, Paragraph 8.
Yeah. Read it.
It's central
regional or local governments or authorities.
Yeah, but this is the measures taken. It's not the territory. It's not the territory. It's the measures. What are the measures that are covered? And this article say the following. The measures that affect investment could be issued by this government, central government, but also other authorities. It's not the territory. It's not the territory. In the bilateral investment treaties, investment treaties, you have a traditional provision that say territory means the following. And we don't have this. So at least for the scope, we have only 3 elements. Is there any element to add to the scope of the African protocol? Okay, no element. Yeah, that's enough. Then, regarding admission, is there any provision related to admission? Yes, there is only one provision related to admission. Yeah. So we have admission and post-admission, because if you have a provision related to admission, that means that there is a treatment for admission and another treatment for post-admission. Okay, you move now to post-admission. This is very important what we make here. This is very important structure. Why? Because here we make a very important distinction between the right of the state and the right of the investor. This part is new. If we compare the protocol with the Tanzania investment agreement with Switzerland, we have only provision related to the rights of the investor, but you have nothing related to the right of the state. So the main contribution, the most important part, new part, is this one. We have this division, and I am very happy with that, between, regarding the protection, we have now 2 actors. We have the protection of the investor and the protection of the state, and this is new, at least from a formal point of view. You will see the details after. Okay, for the investors, what is the structure compared to the Tanzania-Switzerland investment treaties? You have general
and special protection, but here the special protection have new protection, which related to publications, national.
You have a lot of exceptions, more exceptions than principles. Many exceptions, many interpretation, many clarification. And we can raise this question, what is the principle and what is the exception? Because we have a list of exception, and if you have a rule, then you put 1, 2, 3, 4 exception. I have the impression that the exception become principle and the principle become exception. You know, sometimes it's not so easy to distinguish between the principle and the exception. At least the list of exception is very, very important. In the Tanzania, Switzerland, we don't have a lot of exception. Here we have a lot. So you give, but there is exception. You give, but you have to see if you are not excluded. You give and you take. Okay.
That's why in our
denial of benefits, it's related to the scope.
Related to
the scope.
Right to the scope.
The scope, because it's the definition of protected investor. It's not the protection. It's the state can exclude some investment. So denial of benefits, we will you will face it next day, tomorrow, or maybe tomorrow. It's related to the scope.
And actually, we added the exceptions
Yeah.
to the right of state.
Yeah, because there are general exceptions and specific exceptions. We have exceptions related to some rules, but we have also general exceptions. So general exception, for the state, we have general exceptions, we have specific exceptions, and we have other issue. We have investor obligations. That's new. You have an investor obligation here. So when you provide obligation that the investor has to observe, it's a kind of protection of the state. And you have many exceptions, many obligations. We find everything, the environment, the climate change, the health, the public order, the security, the local rights, the community, the technology, the everything. At least do you understand the two different perspectives? Is it clear? Thank you so much for helping us to understand the structure. I have the last remaining element that I want to explore with you in order to understand the context of the investment treaties and of the African protocol. You have at least the formal structure here. If you follow the protocol, we have the formal structure, and you see you have general provisions, investment promotion and facilitation, investment protection standards, sustainable development related issue, investor obligation, institutional arrangements, management and settlement of disputes, final provision. But the substantial structure is very difficult to elaborate. And the formal structure is not so clear if you follow the protocol, because each part includes substantial, procedural, protection of the state, protection of the investor, exception, general exception. This is the formal structure. And what is important is the substantial structure, the content of the agreement. It was maybe better to follow scope, protection of the state, protection of the investor, final provision. It can be better than this. At least there is a structure, clear structure, that we can understand the problem. To find this structure, it is helpful for the investor to understand the content of the agreement. The investor wants that, the businessmen, they don't have a lot of time. They need to read only the titles to understand, to have an idea on the content of the agreement. If he read that, he cannot understand a lot of things. It's not so easy. Facilitation, protection. So maybe it was better. I don't understand why, when the negotiators draft investment treaties, why they don't think about the structure. It's very important, the structure. Very, very important. Pedagogical impact. You read, you don't need to read 23 pages. At least you see the title, you read the title, and you have an idea. Very quickly. Unfortunately, the protocol is not easy to follow. Mix of substance with procedural, with exception, with obligation of the state, obligation of the investor. The last element for today is investment arbitration. I cannot give a lecture on investment without speaking about investment arbitration. Investment arbitration is a form of international arbitration that is provided by investment agreements or investment codes. Investment arbitration requires an arbitration offer. This is a key notion to understand investment arbitration. Investment arbitration is based on an investment offer. The offer is given by the state, where the offer is given in an investment law, in an investment code, or in an international investment agreement. States, when they adopt their investment code, they can give the investor the possibility to initiate an arbitration. States, when they conclude investment agreement, they can give the investor of the other state the possibility to initiate an investment agreement. And because with me, I want to focus on practical issues. I give you an example. This is Article 8, Paragraph 2 of the Code of Investment of Albania, State of Albania in Europe. They have an investment code and they have this article. In this article, they provide that the foreign investor may submit dispute for resolution, and the Republic of Albania hereby consent to the submission to the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes. So here the state accepts arbitration. Every protected investor by this code can accept this offer and go before the exit without contract. No need for a contract. No need for an arbitration agreement. The state accepts the arbitration by this provision. The investor accepts this provision, and we have here the agreement between the two parties. According to the exit statistics, today we have 10% of the cases submitted to exit are based on investment law. And many Africans, today we have 40 states that offer arbitration to foreign investors. Most of them are in Africa. 22 African states offer the investor the possibility to accept this offer and to initiate an investment arbitration. Many. Why do they do that? To attract, for security reason, legal security reason. Many countries offers arbitration in their investment laws. However, yes, it's a political choice. Some countries, they want to do it, others they don't to do it, depending on the countries. I cannot take the place of the country, and I cannot tell why. There are some countries like Tunisia, they offer it, then they decided to change. Now they revoke the offer. In their investment code, they said arbitration requires the specific consent and an agreement of the state. It's a political choice. But we have 10%, not a lot of cases that are based on investment offer. We have also offer in international agreement. The bilateral investment treaties and the multilateral investment treaties offer the investor, the protected investor, the possibility to initiate arbitration. You look here at the Article 8, Paragraph 1 of the United Kingdom, Sri Lanka bilateral investment treaties, in which both the states, they said, each contracting state consent to submit to the exit any dispute related to investment. That means that UK investor that invests in Sri Lanka can accept this offer and initiate an arbitration, and also investor from Sri Lanka that invests in UK can accept this offer and initiate directly an arbitration before the exit or before the mechanism that is mentioned in the provision. This is the most important protection today granted to the investor, this procedural protection. The dispute settlement provision, the possibility offered to the investor to initiate arbitration against the state if the state does not observe the rules, the obligation that are mentioned in the investment treaties, is the most important protection that is granted to the investor today. The investor, if the state violates the rules of protection, has the possibility to enforce its right through arbitration. And the investor did not need the consent of the state. The consent is already given in the treaty. He just accepts the offer and we have the arbitration agreement, he can go directly before the arbitration mechanism, and the arbitration mechanism will control if the rights, the obligation are observed or not, and can even give compensation if there is a violation of the obligation that are provided under the investment treaty. This investment arbitration, the development of investment arbitration, the progression of the investment arbitration, today we have two kinds of arbitration. We have commercial arbitration and investment arbitration. And if I ask you to think on the two mechanisms, you will find that commercial arbitration is contractual. That means that there is no offer in commercial arbitration. In commercial arbitration, we have an agreement between two parties. If there is a dispute, they go to arbitration. There is no offer. The consent is provided in a contract. If I conclude the contract, what is your name? With Lucas, we put an arbitration clause. It's commercial arbitration. There is no offer. Commercial arbitration based on direct agreement between the parties. In some countries, they have state contracts that provides for arbitration. So the state concludes a contract with the foreign investor, and this contract includes an arbitration agreement. This is commercial arbitration. But if the investor accepts the offer of the state provided under an investment treaty or under an investment law, this is an investment arbitration. The base is not the same. We have an offer in investment arbitration, a direct contractual agreement in commercial arbitration. Second, in commercial arbitration, both parties, they know each other. That means that if I have an arbitration clause with Lucas, that means that I can use it against Lucas, and Lucas can use it against me. So the state at least know who will be the potential claimant. It's the party that signs the arbitration clause. However, in investment arbitration, the state cannot know the potential claimant because there is a general offer to accept arbitration, and there is an investor that the state does not know when the state made its offer that will accept this offer and initiate the arbitration case. It's impossible to the state to determine who are the potential claimants. Some potential claimants are not created, are not incorporated. The state also cannot know exactly what is the dispute. Because if I have an arbitration clause with Lucas, this contract, at least I have an idea about the nature of the dispute. So the state gives an erga omnes, abstract consent. To whom? To an investor that the state does not know. They come, they invest, there is a dispute, they accept. Then, what is important? It's very important that investment arbitration is unilateral arbitration. What does it mean? If I have an arbitration clause with Lucas, I can use it against Lucas, but Lucas can use it against me. But in investment arbitration, as you see, the only claimant, the only people that can use this investment arbitration are the investors. They are the investor that use it against the state, but the state cannot use it against the investor. The investor did not make any offer. The offer originates from the state. But if the state wants to initiate an arbitration against the investor, the state cannot do that. Why the state cannot do that? Because, as you know, arbitration is based on consent. And here, the investor did not make any offer. did not give any consent. Finally, if we understand the two mechanisms, investment arbitration and commercial arbitration, as I told you, sometimes the states conclude contract with investors, and in the contract there are arbitration clause. The same investor that concludes a contract with the state can be protected by an investment treaty, bilateral investment treaties. So here we have a problem of coordination of two arbitrations. He can use the contractual arbitration, but also he can use the investment arbitration. According to the case law, the investment can use both of them because the scope of the two mechanisms is not the same. Regarding contractual arbitration or commercial arbitration, the scope is if the state observe or not the contract. The scope of investment arbitration is if the state observe or not the obligation provided under the investment treaties. The investor can use both of them with a limit. The use of many mechanisms could not affect the compensation because the compensation is determined based on the prejudice. And the prejudice is the same even if there are many violations. You can violate many rules, but the prejudice is the same. Compensation, the fact that the state violates many obligations does not mean that the investor can claim more damage. The damage depends on the loss, and the loss is determined regardless to the violation. Finally, this investment investor-state arbitration, let's make some comment on the practice of investor-state arbitration based on bilateral investment treaties, bilateral and multilateral investment treaties. We have until today 1,401 cases, 326 are pending, and 1,050 are concluded. By the end of 2025, 148 states have been respondent in a total of 1,401 cases initiated under investment treaties. As you see here, the state is respondent. All the time, the state is respondent. The investor cannot be a respondent because the state cannot initiate an arbitration against the investor. It's only the investor that accepts the offer and initiate an arbitration against the state. Look here, the number of cases. Some of them are before exit, some are not before exit. Just exit is an arbitration mechanism within the World Bank. Exit is an arbitration mechanism within the World Bank, and exit is an arbitration dedicated to settle dispute between state and foreign investors. Who are the countries, the respondent state who are that are concerned by investment arbitration? As you see, the first state that is respondent is Argentina, 65 cases. Then we have Venezuela, 64. Then you have Spain, Mexico, Egypt, 46 cases. So Egypt has 46 cases, I think, as respondent state. All of them were based on investment treaties. Then we have Canada, Poland, Peru, and Ukraine, 31. They are the most states that were respondent in investment arbitration. Now, who are the claimant? Comes from which country? Who uses this investment arbitration? What is the origin of the investor that uses the system? United States, 232 arbitration initiated by investors from America, United States of America. Then you have Netherlands. Then we have United Kingdom, Germany, Spain, Canada, France, Italy, Switzerland, Turkey. 49 investment arbitration initiated by investor from Turkey. So investor from this country, they use arbitration against this country. That's the most concerned countries and investors by this arbitration. Who are the arbitrators? Look here, we have some arbitrators that were nominated in a lot of cases. For example, Alexandrov, he was nominated in 62 cases. Brigitte Stern from France, 61. Zachary Douglas, 52. Kaufman Kohler, 38. What we think is that, according to some people, we have the same arbitrators that were nominated, and we have a problem of diversity and inclusivity. All of them, they come from some countries. So maybe we need to work in order to promote diversity, inclusivity in this investment arbitration, because we have 62 and as you see, we are in Africa. There is no African arbitrator here. The Bulgaria, French, Swiss, Bulgaria, no, Belgium, United States, Spanish, Canadian, French, Argentine, Swiss, French, Mauritius, yes, the last one. He has 3 nationalities. French, Sans, he is Mauritius, yeah? French, and British, and Mauritian, yeah. But not a lot of African arbitrators involved in investment arbitration. The outcome, who wins? I have the statistics from ICSID. We have 17 settled in favor of the investor, 29, in favor of the state, 38%, and breach without damage, 2%. So you can say that in 29% of the case, the investor wins, and 38, the investor wins. But it's very difficult because some cases are discontinued, and we don't know if the state paid compensation to the investor before the discontinuing the case. So we don't have, it's just to have an idea, but it's not scientific approach. What we observe that is investment arbitration is becoming a global arbitration. It is used not only against developing country, but also against developed country. And as you see, Canada is one of the countries that has a good ranking as a respondent in investment state. Why? Because today the movement of investment becomes global. There are many new investors from the Gulf states, for example, that become investors. Then there are some investors that create companies in Europe, and they invest through those companies. So today, the traditional configuration of investment dispute was an investor from Europe that invests in Africa. This is not today the model. Today we have many investment disputes between European state, European investors, African. I will give you tomorrow, maybe, or after tomorrow, some information about the investment case in Africa. But you notice that investment today is a global. 50 years ago, the arbitration cases are initiated by European, American against African. Today we have, even if some African, Egyptian investor, for example, that initiate arbitration against Canada, against United States. So the movement of investment become global, and the arbitration, investment arbitration, is becoming global too. This is for tomorrow. We will start tomorrow by this, but I can give you until now the question. This is a practical work of 10 minutes. You have all the night to think about it. Tomorrow we will start by answering to this question. Now we finish the context. We understand the structure. This is very important, the structure. We understand the difference between trade and investment, the investment law, the sources, how the economists understand the investment operation, investment arbitration. We try together to explore the protocol. Before moving to the protocol, I want to focus on this last issue. What is, in your opinion, the argument put forward in favor and against international investment agreement? What are the advantages of such agreement, and what are the disadvantages of such agreement? The state, they need bilateral and multilateral agreement. What is the impact, taking into consideration all the elements that I presented today? This brings us to the last chapter in the context. So you have this practical work. You will open our session tomorrow by debate between us on the advantages, disadvantages of the investment agreement. Then we will face the African Investment Protocol. We try together to understand the scope and the protection and the meaning of some provision. If there is any short, very short, very short question, comment, very short comment in the remaining time that we have, I will be happy to answer. If I find that the answer or the comment requires answer or comment. Yes, please. Give him the mic. I cannot give you mine because it's mine.
Yes, Professor. I was following you very critically, and possibly the protocol which we are talking is the protocol to the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area on investment. Is that the protocol? Because after having going through the protocol, Professor, I came to a point of not agreeing with you in a certain point in terms of interpretation. And a very interesting part is on the part of the territory. It seems that the protocol has not established the definitions of the territory. That has made me interesting going further and searching for simplest interpretation. Yes, yeah, yes. Yeah.
Not. You can agree, you cannot, you can disagree. I respect your point. For me, there is no definition. I respect your point of view. However, I don't share your point of view. That's my first comment. Then we will come back to the protocol tomorrow, you will see. But for this point, you agree, you don't agree. I cannot further, I cannot add. A new argument is not a debate. It's an agreement or agreement I respect, fully respect, but I share, and I don't think that it's useful for us to open an endless debate on this issue. Thank you. Yes. Give him the mic, please.
No, I have not concluded, Professor.
Yeah, you are very, please, could you resume?
Oh.
Yeah, because it's not a comment, it's a new conference.
Thank you for what if we invite Article 31 of the Vienna Convention on Law of Treaties in terms of the best interest of interpreting a simplest way in finding the meaning of the territory by looking at the regional and the international context found in Article 2, Sub-Article 2, Sub-A, which creates the regional.
What is the content of Article 2A, please? Could you read it? Is there anyone that has this article? What is the article you told me? 20. Of the protocol. Which treaty? We are in the protocol and we are looking for the notion of territory in the African protocol on investment. Okay, what I propose, because I am tired and you are tired and you need to eat, you need to get access to food, that tomorrow we will dedicate 5 minutes or 10 minutes to this issue of territory and the protocol, if the protocol provides for a definition to the protocol, to the territory. It will be best, because now I am full. It was a pleasure to be with you, to chair this first session with you. Thank you so much. So we will be here tomorrow. We will start by this issue of territory, even if I think that the issue is settled and there is no need to go further. But because our friend want that we deal with that, I can dedicate 5 minutes to that, even if I think that the issue is settled. But let's do it. Then we correct the practical work. Then we move to the second part. Thank you so much. Sorry, I cannot sometimes answer to all the questions. I cannot open endless debates. I am here to do something that I have to do, and I have to do that. Then I don't have the truth. I don't have the truth. Investment law and legal issues are sometimes very controversial. So you can agree, you cannot agree. It's your. I respect me. I am in disagreement with you. You are in disagreement with me. Here, each explain its position, taking into consideration that I am the speaker and you are the participant. Then you are not here to find an agreement. You know, if you don't agree, I respect, and I am not obliged to push you to change your position. There is a disagreement, point, that's all. So we are here to explain a problem. If you understand the problem, that's good for me. Thank you so much.